An entire plane carrying 239 people disappears into the night sky, and a decade later, we still don't know where it is. On the night of March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370, a Boeing 777 bound from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, vanished less than an hour after takeoff, carrying a diverse mix of families, business travelers, and children. At 12:41 a.m., the jet lifted off peacefully. By around 1:07 a.m., its ACARS data link had gone dark. At approximately 1:19 a.m., the last, eerily calm words came over the radio. "Good night, Malaysian 370. Just minutes later, the transponder was switched off, and the aircraft disappeared from civilian radar near the South China Sea. Military radar later tracked the plane as it turned west, retracing its path across the Malay Peninsula and into the Strait of Malacca, before heading toward the Indian Ocean, where, according to satellite handshakes, it may have continued flying for nearly 7 more hours before vanishing utterly. The final handshake, the so-called seventh arc, remains one of the few breadcrumbs in this puzzle and marks where investigators believe fuel exhaustion led to a final, silent descent into the depths. What makes this disappearance even more haunting is how entirely it unfolded without warning. No distress signal was ever issued, and the communication systems, both ACARS and the transponder, appear to have been disabled manually, in a sequence that even U.S. officials called systematic and unlikely in the event of a catastrophic failure. Despite the most extensive search effort in aviation history using ships, aircraft, satellite data, and crowdsourced mapping, only a handful of debris fragments, such as a flaperon on Reunion Island, have been recovered. In total, about 27 fragments were found along coasts of Tanzania, Mozambique, South Africa, Madagascar, and Mauritius, with only a few formally confirmed as belonging to MH370. Yet the plane's main fuselage, its flight recorders, its final resting place, none of it has ever been located. The theories that have emerged to explain what happened are as unsettling as they are inconclusive. Pilot involvement remains a leading theory. Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah's home flight simulator was found to have a route eerily similar to the one investigators believe MH370 took over the southern Indian Ocean. Some analysts, including experienced pilots, suggest this was premeditated, pointing to carefully planned fuel and oxygen loads, deliberate satellite handshake patterns, and even attempts at a controlled ditching into a deep ocean trench to minimize debris. Still, no definitive motive has ever been established, and Malaysia's official 2018 report stopped short of assigning blame, concluding only that the flight path was manually manipulated. Mechanical or systems failure remains possible. Could a fire or sudden fault have knocked out communications while leaving the aircraft capable of continued flight and pings? Some technical voices continue to entertain the idea, though the absence of any distress message makes it less likely. Hijacking or external interference, terrorism, military action, or even highly speculative cyber attacks have been floated over time. But so far, none have gathered credible evidence. The idea that a state accidentally shot down the plane has never been substantiated. Conspiracy theories, ranging from secret government cover-ups to alien abductions, persist online, fueled by the lack of transparent answers and credible proof. Even more recent efforts to flash new life into the investigation have remained frustrated. In late 2024, the Malaysian government approved Ocean Infinity's proposal for a new, privately funded search over 15,000 square kilometers in the southern Indian Ocean, the most likely area along the Seventh Arc. Their autonomous underwater vehicles began scanning early in 2025, under a no find, no fee agreement worth up to $70 million. But by April, the search was suspended due to weather, with plans to resume at the end of 2025. And yet, the plane remains missing. We still ask, how can a modern jetliner in the surveillance age vanish so completely? Until MH370 is found, the truth may forever remain hidden beneath the ocean. Where are you watching the video? Comment below, and if you like the video, please subscribe and like the channel. One of the world's most famous aviators vanished mid-flight, leaving behind only questions, and a mystery that has haunted the skies for nearly a century. On the night of July 2, 1937, Amelia Earhart, already a legend for her solo transatlantic flight and advocacy for women in aviation, set off from La, New Guinea, aboard her sleek Lockheed Model 10E Electra. Alongside her was Fred Noonan, a seasoned navigator. They were on the final and most perilous leg of a globe-circling journey, bound for tiny Howland Island, a speck in the vast Pacific where they hoped to refuel before continuing westward toward home. Their route had carried them from Miami, eastward over South America, Africa, India, and Southeast Asia. By late June, they had completed roughly 22,000 of their intended 29,000 miles. The next 2,500 miles would take them over the open Pacific, toward an island visible only on rudimentary charts. As dawn broke, their radio transmissions grew fraught. Flying blind in overcast skies, Earhart complained of failing communication and dwindling fuel. She and Noonan circled the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Itasca, stationed near Howland, but despite repeated messages, including her final, haunting words, "We are running north and south," the island never came into view. Search efforts exploded almost immediately. It was, at the time, the largest aviation search in U.S. history, involving ships, planes, and hours of painstaking combing of the ocean. Yet no wreckage, no life raft, no sign of Earhart or Noonan was ever found. After weeks, the official search gave way to a declaration of loss. Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan were presumed dead nearly 2 years later, in January 1939. So how does a supremely skilled pilot, flying one of the most advanced aircraft of its time, vanish almost completely? The theories are as captivating as they are inconclusive. Crash and sink, the prevailing explanation. Facing low fuel and poor visibility, Earhart likely ran out of air before spotting Howland and plunged into the deep ocean. Many experts, including the U.S. government, regard this as the most plausible scenario. Castaway on Gardner Island, Nikomororo, some investigators believe Earhart may have drifted south, landed on Gardner Island, and lived as a castaway before succumbing. Artifacts, such as a woman's shoe heel, aluminum pieces, and improvised tools, were found, fueling speculation, though none are conclusively tied to her. Japanese capture or execution. A more controversial theory suggests the Electra may have gone off course and landed on a Japanese-held island, or that she was captured and possibly executed. Rumors and a grainy photo circulated but were later debunked, and most historians consider the theory unlikely. Survival under another identity. Even more speculative is the claim that Earhart survived and lived incognito under an alias. These notions have been firmly dismissed by experts. Despite these competing theories, nothing holds the weight of proof. Searches have continued off and on for decades. In 2025, renewed attention was sparked when a restored vintage radio system enabled researchers to simulate Earhart's final transmissions, narrowing the probable search area more than ever before. And there have been tantalizing but inconclusive clues. In 2024, a private expedition using sonar imaging thought it located Amelia's Electra on the seafloor, but experts urged caution, and the object turned out to be a natural rock formation. Amelia Earhart set out to make history, and instead became history's greatest unsolved aviation mystery. Did she vanish into the sea, or survive in secret? The truth remains just out of reach. 5 U.S. Navy planes vanished in formation, and the rescue mission sent to find them was never seen again. On December 5, 1945, Flight 19, a squadron of 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers, took off from Naval Air Station Fort Lauderdale for what was meant to be a routine training exercise, navigation and bombing practice over the Atlantic. Commanded by Lieutenant Charles C. Taylor, an experienced instructor, the flight carried 14 men and was scheduled to complete a triangular route back to base. At 2:10 p.m., they departed, shrouded in a sense of ordinary purpose. But by mid-afternoon, things began to unravel. The squadron's compasses failed, or at least that's how Taylor described it. Suddenly disoriented, he believed they had crossed over the Florida Keys, although evidence later showed they were far to the northeast, over open ocean. Pilots radioed recognizable concern, one admitted. "I don't know where we are. We must have got lost after that last turn." The ensuing confusion marked a turning point from routine to nightmare. By 3:45 p.m., Taylor's voice on the radio revealed how lost they were, still unsure whether they were over the Keys or the Bahamas. Base controllers urged them to fly west or align with the sun on their wings and head north. But radio static, malfunctioning equipment, and uncertainty all collided. As evening fell and fuel levels dipped, voices grew strained. Around 7 p.m., Taylor's final words came into the radio. "All planes close up tight. We'll have to ditch together." And then, nothing. As night cloaked the ocean, a PBM Mariner seaplane carrying a 13-man rescue crew launched from Banana River to look for Flight 19. But it vanished, too. That very night, a tanker spotted an enormous burst of flames leaping from the sea, followed by slicks of oil and fuel, likely marking a catastrophic explosion. Despite massive search efforts, the largest of its kind at the time, involving planes and ships scouring thousands of square miles, no wreckage, no debris, no remains of any of the 6 aircraft were ever found. Theories emerged, each as unsettling as the last. Navigational error. The Navy's investigation initially blamed Taylor for mistaking the Bahamas for the Florida Keys and leading his pilots out to sea. However, the report was later amended to "cause unknown," after backlash from Taylor's family. Still, the evidence showed he was sincerely confused, and once fuel was lost, rescue became impossible. Equipment malfunction. The compasses and radios failed, or were at least described as failing, leaving the squadron blind over featureless ocean. Mid-air explosion. The rescue Mariner was heavily laden with fuel, a known hazard. Several reports from that night described a sudden, fiery blast at sea, suggesting a catastrophic explosion rather than a controlled ditching. Bermuda Triangle mythos. The mystery seized the public imagination and became one of the earliest symbols of the Bermuda Triangle. Theories span magnetic anomalies, rogue waves, sudden storms, villains of the deep, given shape in sensational headlines. Fringe speculation. As always, fringe ideas surfaced. Hidden beneath facts were whispers of sea monsters, time warps, or even alien abduction. None of these ever earned serious consideration, but the mystery's power lay in its unanswerable nature. To this day, all 6 aircraft remain lost. Flight 19, its men, and the rescue crew are swallowed by the sea, nothing but silence where there should have been echoes of return. 19 Navy airmen disappeared in a single day, with no bodies, no wreckage, and no answers. Did they crash into the ocean? Or did the Bermuda Triangle claim them forever? Where are you watching the video? Comment below, and if you like the video, please subscribe and like the channel.